Hello and welcome to Pock and Rob. It's been a while on this channel since I've done a full artist album ranking. That's what I'm going to do today, and this is my ranking of the albums of the Pet Shop Boys. I'm only including the 15 studio albums. I'm not including the remixes. I'm not including any of the B-side compilations like Relentless. It's just the 15 official studio albums. So I'm going to start right away, and my number 15 comes from 2013 and it's Electric. This was their first album away from Parlophone. It's the first of 3 albums that were produced by Stuart Price, and to suggest that I was disappointed when I listened to this album would be an understatement. I despise this record. I absolutely loathe it. There is absolutely nothing on this record that I would choose to ever listen to again. For me, it's the absolute 100% clunker in their catalogue. Electric, my number 15. Number 14, the follow-up to Electric and the second of the Stuart Price trilogy, Super, from 2016. When listening to this, I found it almost as bad as Electric, but not quite. And the one thing that redeemed it even slightly was the Pop Kids. The Pop Kids was a good single. I remember hearing it on, I think, Radio 2, played by Ken Bruce. I remember liking it, but not thinking it was a stellar Pet Shop Boys song, because it isn't. But it was fine, and it saves the record just, but it doesn't justify its existence. Super, my number 14. And number 13, I have placed from 2006, Fundamental. I would describe Fundamental, when I listened to it, my own personal preference, as I found it dull as. Absolutely dull as can be. With one exception, and that's the interesting little track of I Made My Excuses and Left. But generally speaking, this is... The Pet Shop Boys have never shied away from being political, ever. But this is a hyper-political album, and I think tracks like I'm With Stupid, They feel beneath the quality that Tennant and Lowe could write. Fundamental, I just found it dull. And it's my number 13. Number 12, I'm going back a little bit in time to 1996's Bilingual. For me, Bilingual is probably the first real downstep in the Pet Shop Boys catalogue. There's one track on it that I absolutely adore, and I couldn't be able to say this about the previous 3, and that's Say A Vida A. Say A Vida A was a terrific single, but the other singles from it right before just aren't the same. They're not Pet Shop Boys' usual high standard, except Say A Vida A. I really enjoy Say A Vida A. The rest of it just doesn't work for me. Bilingual, with a certain amount of sadness, is my number 12. And number 11... From 2020, I have placed Hotspot. Now, Hotspot was in my 2020 Album of the Year ranking, and that probably goes to show how disengaging I found a lot of the music to come out in 2020 actually was, that I placed it in my top 15 or 20 from that year. The best thing I can say is it's a Pet Shop Boys album. It is the best of the Stuart Price trilogy by quite a distance. But it would just be a little bit like Fundamental and a bit boring if it wasn't for the closing track of Burning the Heather. And Burning the Heather is a really, really good song. And for me, telegraphs a still bright future for the Pet Shop Boys. It's my number 11. And number 10, I have placed 1988's Introspective. So... the songs on Introspective, or at least some of the songs, are individually brilliant. Genuinely brilliant. So Left to My Own Devices is a personal favourite. It's Alright is really good. Always on My Mind, it was a terrific cover version. Domino Dancing, I have grown over the years to actually really quite appreciate and enjoy. I remember it being a bit, what, when it first came out. So that's 3.5 of the 6 tracks. 6 tracks. Because Introspective was their attempt to do something different with the medium of the album and the single. So what they did was they effectively remixed 12-inch versions, which became the album, known as the single versions. So every song that was released as a single from Introspective is better served by the single version. And so it is recommended by me that if you want to listen to the songs of Introspective that are the best ones, by discography or pop art or smash, because you will get them. And you'll get them in their best iterations. Introspective, with some sadness, comes in at my number 10. And number 9, I have placed from 1999, Nightlife. I find this an interesting but flawed experiment of an album. So this was written for a musical, a stage musical, which was entitled Closer to Heaven, which is the second track on the record. However, my favourite things on here were not part of the stage musical, which you can listen to on Spotify if you so desire. So things like You Only Tell Me You Love Me When You're Drunk, I Don't Know What You Want, But I Can't Give It Anymore, and Vampires. Vampires is a really, really solid song. The rest of the music around it is fine, if unspecial, if that makes sense. It's an album that when I put it on, I enjoy quite a bit of. I just can't say that it absolutely grips me in the way that other Pet Shop Boys albums do. My number 9, Nightlife. My number 8 is an album that I have seen cited as their first bad album in some rankings online, and I can only disagree. It's Elysium from 2012. This, in some ways, feels like a revisiting of what I think is a career highlight, but we'll come to what that career highlight is a little bit later on in the ranking, obviously. Leaving is a personal favourite. Opening the album, I think it's really, really strong. Winner is an excellent single. It's a pleasant album, but unremarkable. But unlike something like, say, Fundamental, it's not dull. It is enjoyable. It just feels like it's a bit of much of a retread of something else, which we will come to later on in this ranking. Elysium is my number 8. My number 7 is their most recent record from 2024, Nonetheless. Feel is an absolutely gorgeous song on here. I enjoy Why Am I Dancing, Dancing Star, and New Bohemia, Secret of Happiness. But my favourite is probably the most maligned track on here, and that's Schlager Hit Parade. And as a result, Nonetheless basically gets to this lofty position of number 7 on my ranking. At number 6, I have placed Yes from 2009. This is a really positive, upbeat album. It's a massive step up from Fundamental, its predecessor. Tracks like Beautiful People, I love Did You See Me Coming, Vulnerable is lovely, Building a Wall and King of Rome are both great songs. Building a Wall, I really, really liked listening to that the other day when I put this on in my car. And Pandemonium is terrific song that wasn't and should have been a single. This deeply enjoyable record, actually. Every time it goes on, there's no skips on this. There's very few stellar 10 out of 10 moments, but there's certainly no skips. I enjoy Yes a great deal. It's my number 6. So before I do my top 5, I would remind you to subscribe if you haven't already done so. To click the thumbs up to like the video. That really helps with the YouTube algorithm and other people seeing these things. The bell to receive notifications of future content. I can tell you up front that there is going to be, in May time, obviously a review of the new Paul McCartney album. I'll make another mention of that towards the end of this video. And lastly, share this video with someone else who might like it. So into that top 5, and at number 5 is now an album I don't own anymore. I did at one point. I decided I despised it. And it's Very from 1993. So like I say, once upon a time I hated this record, despite the fact that it opens with one of their top 5, I think, for me, tracks, Can You Forgive Her? I think this may have been initially due to my dislike of Go West. the number 2 hit single. Now, I've come round to that song over the last 5 years or so, and I actually think it's rather enjoyable. The other thing that turned me against this album was I massively prefer the single version of I Wouldn't Normally Do This Kind of Thing, which is, again, top 10 Pet Shop Boys song for me. I used to think that the single version made me understand why you might remix stuff. But actually, I've grown to like the album version again when I've re-listened to this album. And I think I was overly harsh on it because actually Liberation is rather sweet. Different point of view I've grown to really like. To Speak Is a Sin, Dreaming of the Queen. And even Yesterday When I Was Mad. I've grown to really appreciate the whole album, and I think I have been over harsh on it, and so I need to get another copy. I can listen to it on Spotify whenever I want, and I will listen to it. I have to pick up another copy of except this time I think I'd like it on the vinyl. It's my number 5. Number 4, Please. I did a ranking this year of my top 15 albums of 1986, and one of the comments underneath it was, you didn't include Please by the Pet Shop Boys. And that's a fair comment, actually. My feeling about it was, again, probably tempered by it's taken me years to come around to West End Girls, their debut number 1 single. And I do think that this is the side A of this album is all killer. Side B dips a little, but actually I probably should have included this in my 1986 ranking, certainly since my most recent listening to this when I was driving. Opportunities is a terrific song. Suburbia is sublime. And I even like, and this is possibly why I didn't include it the first time out, I've even grown to like 2 Divided by Zero that opens the album. And so Please, it's my number 4. And at number 3, Actually. I bet you thought this was going to be number 1, but no, it is not. This is their second album, came out in 1987. This has got the big hits. So It's a Sin, which may lay claim to my all-time favourite Pet Shop Boys song, but when I do a song ranking of the Pet Shop Boys, we will find out. King's Cross is a masterpiece that closes the record. What Have I Done to Deserve This with Dusty Springfield is an absolute classic. Heart was a number 1 single. And Shopping. Now, Shopping I kind of took against when the album came out in 87, when I first ever listened to it. I thought it was really lame. It's not really lame, it's actually really good. This is overshadowed by its hit singles, is probably the problem with Actually. And I don't particularly like much either of the songs that opens each of the sides of the record. So that's One More Chance and It Couldn't Happen Here. I like It Couldn't Happen Here a little bit more than One More Chance. But actually, their most successful record is my number 3. So if you're a Pet Shop Boys fan or aficionado, you will probably take issue with what I placed at number 2. This is Release. Came out in 2002. This is hugely maligned. I think part of that is because they really did do something different with this album. They used instruments. They had guitars. In fact, one of the videos for London shows Neil Tennant strumming a guitar. It's almost like Pet Shop Boys fans took against this album for them daring not to keep it all synthesized and electronic. But I deeply enjoy Release. I think it's a wonderful album. Home and Dry, the opening track, is an absolute A1 track for me. I Get Along, another that will be in my top 10 because I've always liked that. And I first encountered those 2 songs through the Pop Art compilation that came out shortly afterwards. And I loved them both the moment I heard them. I would even suggest that I Get Along and Home and Dry turned me back onto the Pet Shop Boys after I'd gone against them a little bit post discography. So they saved my listening to them. I would have probably never bothered again if it weren't for those two tracks. But alongside that, Birthday Boy and Night I Fell in Love, the one about Eminem, which is very tongue-in-cheek, and London that I've mentioned, and I appreciate and really enjoy the Release album, and I think it's deeply unfairly maligned, because the songs are good. And that's the main thing. What they play them on shouldn't really matter, because the songs are good. And I Get Along, about Tony Blair and Peter Mandelson, is absolutely... I mean, Peter Mandelson's in the news at the moment, but it's an absolutely brilliant song. My number 2, which leaves at number 1 what many Pet Shop Boys cite as their greatest record, Behaviour from 1990. There are so many great songs on this album. It is their downer album. But that means that the songs breathe. There is more. There's more quality, I think, in the songwriting, and it's quite possibly their only perfect album. I don't think there's anything on here I'd swap out and remove. So we got singles like Jealousy and So Hard. This Must Be the Place I Waited Years to Leave is a great song. So is Nervously, absolutely lovely. To Face the Truth and Only the Wind are understated melodic gems. Then there's How Can You Expect to Be Taken Seriously? And then opening the record is Being Boring, which may lay claim to their greatest single, if not their greatest song. Again, when I do my actual single and songs ranking, we'll find out where I put it. But when you have an album that opens with Being Boring and ends with the imperially brilliant Jealousy, and that there's no bad song in between, it is probably their only perfect album. It's comfortably my number 1. So that concludes my ranking of the 15 Pet Shop Boys album. As you can tell, it's an artist that I don't exactly blow hot and cold on, but I know what I like and I know what I dislike. But what I like, I love. And that's it. I'll be back soon with another video. I said I would mention again, obviously Sir Paul McCartney has announced his new album, The Boys of Dungeon Lane. I am super stoked for the release of that. I have, of course, already listened to the lead-off single, and I'm looking forward to May already for the release of The Boys of Dungeon Lane. Yes! I'll be back soon with another video, but until then, I'd remind you to subscribe, like, hit the bell, share the video, and thanks for watching.